All right, the Florida Gators are set to give it one more go this spring at the Swamp on April 13th, this Saturday, in the annual spring game. We got David Waters on the line from Gators, a breakdown. So what you do is you lock it in right here on YouTube or your favorite audio platform where you catch David and the rest of the crew where they break down Florida football like nobody else. David, how you doing tonight?
Good, Mark. Good. Spring, like you said, kind of winding down for the Gators. So, it's the podcast has the motto, there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation, but at least it's a little slower right now or about to get slow.
Well, before we talk about what's been happening on the practice field and headed toward this Saturday, let's talk a little recruiting because there are some offers out there. There have been some recent commits that are looking good for 2020.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson was a former commit at the quarterback position for the Gators. Kind of decommitted when Florida was trying to figure out what they wanted to do at quarterback with Georgia commit Carson Beck. It happened about a month ago, and Anthony Richardson there. Florida didn't necessarily start recruiting him, but maybe calmed down a little bit. But Florida was and Dan Mullen were kind of trying to figure out what they wanted to do. But Anthony Richardson is your kind of traditional dual threat quarterback, big body, mark 6'3". Anywhere from 215 to 230, according to where you kind of look up, 4'6", 40. So that big body type, kind of conducive to what Dan Mullen is mostly known for as an offensive coordinator, head coach there. Richardson's the 488th overall player, 12th rated dual threat quarterback, 3-star right now. He is an Elite 11 finalist, so he'll get to that, kind of elite quarterback camp that he will be a part of with some other quarterbacks. And an interesting side note, he'll be training here in Jacksonville with Denny Thompson of 6 Points Jack's quarterback training, where Carson Beck will also be Georgia commit. Carson Beck will also be training, as well as Jeff Sim, the FSU quarterback commit. So you'll have a Florida quarterback, an FSU quarterback, and a Georgia quarterback commit, all training right here in Jacksonville with my good friend Denny Thompson. So that's kind of an interesting side note there. But if Florida got their quarterback, that's one thing that's pretty clear that Dan Mullen wants to do is get a quarterback every class. So you go back to Emory Jones, go back to Jalen Jones, and now Anthony Richardson in the fold to get the Gators another quarterback. And then a bit of a surprise on Sunday, got a commit from a cornerback out of Texas, Avery Helm. 6'2", 170 pounds. You could tell Dan Mullen, Todd Grant don't like that tall, rangy type of cornerback. He's a top 300 player, basically at the 304th overall player. Had offers from Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, and a few more there. So you could tell they want those bigger, taller cornerbacks. Florida may have a little trouble of getting the big-time cornerback recruits for another, a second year in a row after getting Kyer Elam and Chris Steele and Kimbrough and Jadon Hill last cycle. So we'll kind of see where it equals out. Fred Davis, a big-time target here in Jacksonville, committed to Clemson Monday night. So kind of missed out on him, but it's kind of going to be hard-pressed to go get some big-time other cornerbacks when you kind of nailed that position the last cycle.
We've got Florida football talk for you here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, with the best way we know how to provide it. David Waters from Gators Breakdown. Of course, you go to YouTube, keep it right here, but you go to Gators Breakdown to join a Florida football talk right there all the time. And again, your favorite audio version as well. And of course, if you love college football, you keep it right here. Share the video, subscribe, like, and comment to keep us going. I'm going to give you one of the toughest jobs in sports analysis right now, Dave. Preview a spring game. Because I get excited for these spring games, and I tell people this all the time. I get excited when I see the lineups coming out, and, this is going to be on the SEC network or the Big Ten network. And then I turn it on, and I remember, it's really not football. It's nothing to watch.
Yeah, when you see touchdown passes to former players who haven't played in 15, 20 years, it's for fun. Ben Mullins mentioned it this kind of past week. It's a festival event. It's a showcase for the players. There'll be some football, there'll be some battles on there, but for the most part, it's just for the players to go out there and have fun. Whether it's Florida playing duck, duck, deuce again, or like I said, throwing passes to former players. I'm pretty sure we'll see some of that. And look, there'll be some players out there who try and make a name for themselves. It's one more time as they get to kind of put their name out there until fall camp, and also the first time for a lot of players to be put out there in kind of a game-like setting. So, they'll be more fun than anything, but we might can take it a little bit out of it.
Yeah, you can. You got to kind of pick and choose and understand what's real football and what's not. And if I see a young wide receiver versus a young DB, or really any experience level, but it's certainly guys that are hungry and need to make a name for themselves, they're on an island. They're battling just they would like they would in any practice for, okay, who's getting separation, who's not getting separation, who's winning this battle between a cornerback and a wide receiver, for example. And obviously, if a quarterback can rip it, he can rip it. Maybe the reading of the defense wasn't too difficult because it was so vanilla, but he showed off his arm. So there are certain things we can take, not necessarily the blocking, the tackling, especially, or the escapability of the quarterbacks, because all it takes is a fingernail to bring them down. But in terms of anything that you can look at this Saturday and you're going to size it up as, okay, that means something. That guy did play pretty well there and showed me something. Who would those guys be, and what would those situations be?
Yeah, I think we can still start with Felipe Franks, who ended last season well. And look, Mark, Florida had a ton of open practices this spring, an open scrimmage to the media as well. And Felipe Franks has looked better in those settings than he ever has as well. So can that continue on Saturday? Can he hit some deep shot passes that he kind of missed on last year, that he's looked to be hitting more consistently this spring? Would that be something that can carry on in the fall as well? So, with Felipe Franks, he's got command, he's got control of the offense. As you said, he's not going to be doing a whole lot of running because he's going to be the quarterback come around with Florida and Miami matchup in late August. But it's just some of those. He's struggled a little bit this spring with some zone coverages. So maybe Todd Grantham throws out some zone coverages, and Dan Mullen wants to see how Felipe Franks reacts in that situation. Some downfield throws as well, and talk about some downfield throws. Looking at early enrollee Chris Steele, the cornerback out of California. You can tell at times this year he's swimming as an early enrollee with as deep as Florida is at wide receiver, led by Trevon Grimes and Van Jefferson, Tyree Cleveland, Josh Hammond, Freddie Swain, Kadarius Stoney. I mean, Mark, you could name Florida's receivers, and they're names that people know out there. Florida's deep at that group. So, C.J. Henderson, what he can do. Marco Wilson's coming off the new injury. He's not going to be playing in the spring game. So Chris Steele is going to get a lot of reps in front of the fans. So we'll see how he holds up. Had a really good pick the other day in a practice. So kind of got some congratulations from some other defenders there. But a couple other defenders I think to keep an eye on to kind of see if they can keep their hot streak, so if you want to call it that, so much lately, is Zachary Carter, a defensive end who's just been wreaking havoc the last couple of weeks in spring practice and the scrimmage, and Andrew Chatfield as well, kind of in that same role, been able to kind of own the offensive line, get back there and pressure the quarterback. But Mark, the probably biggest question for this Gators team is get that offensive line figured out, where they got to replace 4 starters. So you can Stone Forsyth, Brett Heggie, Nick Buchanan, Chris Black, and I forget the right tackle's name right now. His name's escaping me. But Forsyth, Richard Garage, another tackle who can maybe come in. Gene Lance, there we go. That's a good right tackle I was thinking of. He's been dealing with an injury.
You only got to remember 105 names.
Oh, no, just went through and listed.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, just went through and listed the whole receiver core. But Gene Lance, he was a transfer out of Texas. He's kind of been shoot into that right tackle spot so far this spring. Started off well, been dealing with a bit of an injury right now. But Richard Garage, who was a true freshman last year, maybe he gets some more playing time this Saturday because of DeLance dealing with a little bit of an injury. But Florida's got to find some depth there as well. Get them 7-8 deep by the time spring ends Saturday. Can they feel comfortable with those 7 or 8? They're behind Mark. It's kind of expected though. So we'll kind of see, where they're at Saturday and what they'll be able to bring once fall camp starts.
So there you go, folks. The best in Florida football coverage right there. There's a great example because Dave rips off about 39 names, and then it takes him about 7 seconds to come up with the right tackle's name, and that's about the biggest mistake I've ever seen him make. So, Dave, we always appreciate the breakdown, and of course, we're gonna come find you several times as we get prepared for August.
Yeah, Mark, it's going to be, with ESPN trying to, keying in on this Florida-Miami game to kick off the 150 years of college football. So the game will be, in the spotlight August 24th. Just found out yesterday. I don't have to go as a media member. The tickets got approved for the Florida-Miami game. Tickets hard to come by right now, but with the season kicking off, it'd be a whole lot of fun. One of my best friends is the Miami fans coming in for the game as well, so we'll be sitting together along with some other Gator friends of mine. So it should be a fun time as the all eyes of the college football world will be on Florida and Miami come August.